Hello, this is Mr. White. We are on Chapter 6, Lesson 2, Probability and Heredity. My Planet Diary. Storm on the way? Have you ever watched a hurricane form? Weather forecasters at the National Hurricane Center, the NHC, in Miami, Florida have. From May 15th to November 30th, the NHC operations area is staffed around the clock with forecasters. They study data from aircraft, ocean buoys, and satellites to develop computer models. These models predict the probable paths of a storm. If the probability of a certain path is high, the NHC issues a warning that helps save lives and reduce damage. How is probability related to inheritance? Before the start of a football game, the team captain stands with the referee for a coin toss. The team that wins the toss chooses whether to kick or receive the ball. As the referee tosses the coin, the visiting team captain calls heads. What is the chance that the visitors will win the toss? To answer this question, you need to understand the principles of probability. What is probability? Each time you toss a coin, there are two possible ways it can land: heads up or tails up. Probability is a number that describes how likely it is that an event will occur. In mathematical terms, you can say the probability that a tossed coin will land heads up is 1 in 2. There's also a 1 in 2 probability that the coin will land tails up, as in 1 in 2 probability is expressed as the fraction 1/2, or 50%. The laws of probability predict what is likely to occur, not what will occur. If you toss a coin 20 times, you may expect it to land heads up 10 times and tails up 10 times. But you may get 11 heads and 9 tails, or 8 heads and 12 tails. The more tosses you make, the closer your actual results will be to those predicted by probability. Do you think the result of one toss affects the result of the next toss? Not at all. Each event occurs independently. Suppose you toss a coin 5 times and it lands heads up each time. What is the probability that it will land heads up on the next toss? If you said the probability is still 1 in 2, or 50%, you're right. The results of the first 5 tosses do not affect the results of the 6th toss. Probability and genetics. How is probability related to genetics? Think back to Mendel's experiments. He carefully counted the offspring from every cross. When he crossed 2 plants that were hybrid for stem height, capital T, lowercase t, about 3/4 of the F2 plants all had tall stems. About 1/4 had short stems. Each time Mendel repeated the cross, he observed similar results. He realized that the principles of probability applied to his work. He found that the probability of a hybrid cross producing a tall pea plant was 3 in 4. The probability of producing a short pea plant was 1 in 4. Mendel was the first scientist to recognize the principles of probability that can predict the results of genetic crosses. Punnett squares. A tool that can help you grasp how the laws of probability apply to genetics is called a Punnett square. A Punnett square is a chart that shows all the possible ways alleles can combine in a genetic cross. Geneticists use Punnett squares to see these combinations and to determine the probability of a particular outcome or result. In a genetic cross, the combination of alleles that parents can pass to an offspring is based on probability. Figure 1 shows how to make a Punnett square. In this case, the cross is between 2 hybrid pea plants with round seeds, capital R, lowercase r. The allele for round seeds, capital R, is dominant over the allele for wrinkled seeds, lowercase r. Each parent can pass either one allele or the other to an offspring. The boxes in the Punnett square show the possible combinations of alleles that the offspring can inherit. Step 1. Start by drawing a box and dividing it into 4 squares. Step 2. The male parent's alleles are written along the top of the square. Fill in the female parent's alleles along the left side. Step 3. Copy the female parent's alleles into the boxes to the right. The first one is done for you. Step 4. Copy the male parent's alleles into the boxes beneath them. In Step 5, the completed square shows all the possible allele combinations the offspring can have. What are phenotype and genotype? Two terms that geneticists use are phenotype and genotype. An organism's phenotype is its physical appearance or visible traits. An organism's genotype is its genetic makeup or alleles. In other words, genotype is an organism's alleles. Phenotype is how a trait looks or is expressed. To compare phenotype and genotype, look at Figure 2. The allele for smooth pea pods, capital S, is dominant over the allele for pinched pea pods, lowercase s. All the plants with at least one capital S allele have the same phenotype. That is, they all produce smooth pods. However, these plants can have two different genotypes, capital S, or capital S, lowercase s. If you were to look at the plants with smooth pods, you would not be able to tell the difference between those types that have the genotypes capital S, and those with the genotype capital S, lowercase s. The plants with pinched pods, on the other hand, would all have the same phenotype, pinched pods, as well as the same genotype, lowercase s. Geneticists use two additional terms to describe an organism's genotype. An organism that has two identical alleles for a trait is said to be homozygous for the trait. A smooth pod plant that has the alleles capital S, and a pinched pod plant with the alleles lowercase s, are both homozygous. An organism that has two different alleles for its trait is heterozygous. A smooth pod plant with the allele capital S, lowercase s, is heterozygous. Recall that Mendel used the term hybrid to describe heterozygous pea plants.